Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Govs on the Go, Alumni Edition, a podcast featuring alumni from the College of Arts and Letters here at Austin Peay State University. My name is Dr. Buzz Hoon. I'm the host of the podcast. I'm also the dean of the college. And today I'm talking with Natalie Kilgore, who graduated with a degree in mass communications back in 2001. Natalie, so great to have you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Well, we're going to, I am a communications professor at heart, and we're going to talk about not only your time at Austin Peay, but also what you've done in your career. But let's give everybody a life update so they know what's going on right now.
Okay, well, I am currently serving as the Vice President of Publicity for a company called Brown Sellers Brown, which is the parent company for BSB Management, Quartz Hill Records, and Stone Country Records. It is a country music record label, boutique, full service. I'm currently working with Joe Nichols, who is a 3-time Grammy nominee, Runaway June, who is an Academy of Country Music Award nominated act, and some newcomers, Nate Barnes, Ben Gallagher, Annie Bosco, and several others that I'm really excited to be working with. And basically, what I do and how I use my communication degree is I work to promote the artists in everything from trade magazines to consumer magazines, online stories, book national television appearances, and any creative, fun way we can get the word out about the new music we're releasing.
Now, if we were with a bunch of other students right now, they'd be asking, how do you get started? What have you been doing during that time? How things change? We will get to all those questions as we move along. But I'd like to begin at the beginning. And you talk about growing up in Greenbrier, Tennessee, a small railroad town, as you described.
Railroad town, one stoplight.
So I think that sometimes, growing up in a small town impacts us. How did growing up in Greenbrier impact you?
Honestly, I feel really lucky to have grown up in such a small town. I was fortunate. We moved there when I was 7. Originally, I lived in Whites Creek, Tennessee, 30 minutes away, close to Nashville. But I was lucky enough to move there when I was 7 years old and go to school with the same kids, the same group of friends, my entire middle school and high school career. And we were very closely bonded. And we had a really great arts program when I was growing up. And just like in any small town, football is king, but our music program and our show choir program, which I was a part of, that was also king. So,
Great.
yeah, so I had an amazing choral director, Lewis Walling, who it wasn't just about the plays and the productions, the vocal training, but he also really helped spawn this, creative energy that I think also helps carry over into what I do when I'm pairing it with my communication degree. So that was kind of my high school experience. I was jazz hands and
That's awesome. I love that. Now, I think at some point you must have had some early insight that you had an affinity for music, a love of music. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, okay, so I'm such a dork, but when I was 8 years old, I bought my very first record player. It's a little plastic Fisher-Price thing. I saved up all my money. My mom used to pay me $2 a week to dust the house. And I finally got enough money to buy this little plastic record player and 2 45 singles, Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal. And
That's a classic.
exactly. And Taylor Dane's Don't Rush Me. So those are my 2 selections. It was all the money I had. And I was actually just thinking about this. I used to, I started my career as a radio DJ, which was never something that I ever thought I would do. But when I was a kid and I bought that record player, I also had my little cassette player and I stole my dad's little microphones from his stereo system, and I would play my 45s, and then I would I would front sell and back sell them like a radio DJ. And I made my own little tapes because to me it was fun. And
Yeah,
I listened to the radio all the time. And I never put that together until like, a few years ago, like, oh, wait, I used to play radio DJ.
I know.
um, I was also a pop culture junkie. I mean, over here to my right, I actually still have stacks of Rolling Stone magazines and Spin magazines from the 90s that I just can't part with. Um,
Well,
so,
that's I think is such an indicator for you that music was going to be such an important influence in your own career and your life and how you moved along. I think that's really a great story, and I love that. And good choices on the music.
oh, thank you. I'm dating myself.
So you were a valedictorian in high
I was.
school,
Hmm. Hmm.
and as you said, you were involved in lots of things, which was again another indicator of what would happen. How did we get so lucky to have you come to Austin P?
I toured multiple campuses, and honestly, um, a lot of the schools, like a lot of didn't necessarily intend to go into the music industry. So I did tour MTSU. I toured a few other schools, kind of talked about those programs, but at that point in time, I was interested in journalism. I thought, hey, maybe I'll write for Rolling Stone or Spin, or maybe I'll write for National Geographic and go across the world and like help save the mountain gorillas. Like I was also very into that. But that was very exciting to me. And I looked at several schools, but when I went to Austin P, what I loved about the communication department at Austin P was it was it wasn't tiny, it wasn't huge, but what it was right in the center, and it was very hands-on. Every professor was friendly. Everyone spent time talking to me. um, Everybody felt very accessible. There was there's a radio station, there was AP Magazine, there was the Allstate, there was Capsule Magazine, and it felt like if I wanted to be involved with any one of those things, there would be no issue with me going after it and being able to do it. Whereas when I was at other universities, I even had a graduate student tell me at one of those universities that if I wanted hands-on experience, to not go there because it was so hard to get studio time. It was so hard to get lab time. You were always on a waiting list to do anything that was like actual experience. Um, and I really took what he said to me to heart and kind of used that as a roadmap as I visited other universities. And the one thing that was really clear to me at Austin P was that I would be able to work on any project I set my mind to because everyone and everything was accessible.
And I want to thank that graduate student, that unnamed graduate
At the
student,
unnamed
for
university. Won't say
being
which one.
honest about their program, but also, you certainly took advantage of so many different opportunities while you were here. You were involved and I'm surprised you had time to go to classes because you had because you had taken an opportunity not only to be a student worker for the
Mhm.
department. You gave tours of the
I
campus.
did. Yep.
Um, and you were, I think, an editor with Allstate. Is that right?
I was the assistant news editor and then worked my way up to news editor at the Allstate. I was there during the tornado, um, and was news editor at that point in time. I also worked on Capsule Magazine, and I was the editor in chief my senior year.
So those are all things you were working on to help build your portfolio, your resume, your experience. But I'm sure along the way, some professors are encouraging you. And let's talk a little bit about the professors that really served as mentors for you.
Well, Dr. Mike Gocher was the chair of the department at the time that I was there, the communication department. And he was, or well, he is, but he was when he was there, such a driving force, just I don't know, just smart, savvy. Again, goes back to the accessibility. His door was always open to counsel students, to talk through assignments. Um, he honestly, his classes really prepared me and all of us for the real world. One thing that I think is really interesting, I forget exactly because I think I had him for 4 classes. I forget exactly which class it was, but he made us do a resume. And I cannot begin to tell you how many coworkers I talked to, they never had to do that.
Mm.
Like they never had a college course, nothing ever where they had to do a resume, where they had to actually prepare themselves for the real world. Um, he, I also worked in the communication department. I was a student worker, a scholarship worker, and I don't know. I saw him as a friend, as a mentor, as a coworker, as a boss.
Yeah.
And he was the heart of that department. And I mean, I had so many great professors. Dr. Margaret Duffy, an amazing corporate communication and public relations mind. I learned so much from her. Um, I'm kind of choking on my words at the moment because I start going back and I start seeing everyone buzzing around the office. It was just such a wonderful time to be there. And I think, that entire department always made me feel supported.
And some of the other things that you were involved in, some of the other activities, you were with an improv group and you also sang in the choir.
I did. I did. I was part of an improv group called Blah 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 or Blah 3. It was part of the STEP team, which is students trained to educate peers. And so basically we had all of these. We wrote some of them and some of them we inherited. And I mean they were skits about, drinking and driving and, I mean there was some really date rape, and protecting yourself and what, just scenarios that were very relatable but also taught a lesson, also helped um other students or whoever was in our audience understand like where they could go get help, that they weren't alone. But it was also really fun
Mm.
as well, which is kind of weird to say because it was heavy, the topics were heavy. um but yeah, I actually auditioned for that kind of on a whim, never thinking in a million years that they would actually cast me. But we traveled. We did stuff on campus, but we traveled around as well,
Uh,
to other campuses and other community events like Take Back the Night, and performed and were very active on campus. And then yes, I was part of the university concert choir for a couple of years, and that was a lot of fun as well.
oh, great. Well,
Mm.
I mean, it sounds like you took full advantage, and I'm sure that there were lots of community. You built a community of student friends, and not only with the professors, but also with people within the department that certainly
Mhm.
made for a lot of great memories.
Absolutely. And I have to give another shout out to Dr. Ellen Canervo,
Oh
who I
yeah.
believe is still there. I love her so much. Um, and one of the smartest ladies I've ever met. And she really took a lot of extra time, I feel like, to counsel me and help me. Because statistics, media statistics, math, not my strong suit. And she really helped me through um, getting me to a place where it finally clicked. And I really think very highly of her. So.
Well, she was also on my other podcast where we profile the legacy people, and Dr. Canervo certainly is an important part of our legacy here at Austin Peay. So at some point, you got the opportunity to do an internship at the radio station. Is that right?
I did. I did.
And I love the name of the station, of course, because just of the connection to my name.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, 102.9 The Buzz, WBUZ, Nashville. Yep. I so one of the things that I always say whenever I speak to, high school students, college students, take advantage of a career center at your high school and your college. Absolutely 100% do the work. Take the meetings with your career counselor, take meetings with your professors. But another thing that I think is really important is going out into the community and experiencing things and really thinking about, what do you enjoy? What makes you tick? What kind of tasks do you do from day to day that make you happy and bring you joy and that you feel like you excel at, right? So, and then maybe seek out those events or businesses in the community and just go and talk to people. So the way that I got the internship at the radio station, I had a couple of internships. They weren't quite very fulfilling. They weren't bad, but I was like, something just isn't quite, it just doesn't feel like the right fit. So I really started thinking like what was missing from those internships. And what was missing from those internships were more public facing and event driven sort of things, right? Which is where I always felt very energized. So then I thought, well, who puts on a lot of events or who's at a lot of events? Radio stations.
Yeah.
What's my favorite radio station? 102.9 The Buzz. So one day I went to Dancing in the District in Nashville, which used to be a big riverfront concert series. And 102.9 The Buzz radio stations that are sponsored stations usually have a table set up as a sponsor for visibility. And so I walked up to the table and I said, "Hi, my name is Natalie Kilgore. I'm a communications student with a focus in journalism and corporate comm at Austin Peay State University. And I'd love to talk to you about an internship." And they were like, "Oh, well, we always need help." And anyway, long story short, I started, I had a great conversation with these people. And then while I was talking to them, one of my actual Al John Go, who was also an Austin Peay student, who I think he was taking part-time classes and also working at the station. We had never met, but he walked up and he said, "Wait, you're from Austin Peay. I also go to Austin Peay." He was like, "You're interested in an internship. Okay, cool. This is who you need to call. You need to call our operations manager. Here's his direct line. Here's his line. Here's his name, and just start calling and call until he calls you back." I called for 2.5 weeks straight.
Oh my God.
Every single day, sometimes twice a day, and left him a voicemail. And I mean, like, the receptionist knew my name. Like, she knew who I was.
You will not be denied.
She was like, "Hey, Natalie, let me transfer you," voicemail. So finally, after 2.5 weeks, I get a call out of the blue from the promotion director who he had passed my name and information along to. And she said, "I need help. When can you come in?"
It worked.
It worked. Persistence.
That's
right. And she and she's still one of my very best friends today. And I had a promotion department internship and worked on their very first BuzzFest festival, which was this huge all day long concert, 2 stages at AmSouth, or no, what was it was Starwood Amphitheater at that point. And so that was really a big deal because they had never done anything like that before. And then when that internship ended, I was asked if I wanted to basically be a gopher and do a production internship on a show called The Local Buzz, which highlighted, the creme de la creme of rock music, local bands in the Middle Tennessee area. And I said, "Sure, that sounds amazing." So I basically did research on the bands. I communicated with them back and forth, helped book the guests, put together the concert listings every week. And then I kind of halfway through the internship, they put me on as a sidekick. So I basically read the concert listings and chimed in every now and then.
Yeah.
And then at the end of, it was probably like March, April-ish, they asked me if I wanted to take the show over because the host was going on tour with his band. And they said, "You're the only person that knows the scene, that has the contacts. We'd love for you to come on board." So while I was still at Austin Peay, I was driving from Clarksville all the way out to Murfreesboro Road to their station every Saturday and Sunday, actually, because I also was doing overnights on weekends. And yeah, became an on-air
Wow.
DJ and finished my degree and continued doing that for 4 to 5 years until my next thing. So
Yeah, and all that while it's amazing that the things you were doing were helping you get prepared for what your next job was going to be, which
yeah.
was in publicity, right?
Well, it was from there. I started doing other little things. Like I freelanced for All the Rage, which was the competitor for the Nashville scene, and was a Gannett property. I wrote for the Tennessean and basically did like concert advances and things of that nature. To make ends meet, I also booked a small dive bar that no longer exists. So it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then I went to work for the Nashville Songwriters Association International, also known as NSAI, which helps to, champion songwriters' rights in Congress. They also help. They're kind of like a songwriter university in a sense. A membership includes networking opportunities, mentoring sessions. There's all these like pitch to publisher nights and like learning tools for people that want to be songwriters. And it's really an amazing organization that I would encourage anyone interested in songwriting or even just the music industry to be a part of. It's an all genre thing. It's not just country. They also put on the 10 Patent Songwriters Festival every year in March or April. And it is the largest songwriters festival in the United States. So I came on board to be their communication director and also their co-director of the Tin Pan South Songwriters Festival. That was my next move. And then I was not looking for a job, but I got the call to come in-house at Big Machine Records in very, very early days. Scott Borchetta needed an in-house publicist. And, you know, we met over the course of probably about a month, had conversations, and he made me an offer and I came in house, and it was super early on. They were still just one record label, and Taylor Swift's Teardrops on My Guitar had just launched at radio. So
Okay, so
that's how early it was. Yeah.
that's amazingly early. And
Yeah.
and not only I mean, I want to just pause for there for a minute. I mean, this is a big challenge for you in terms of you had the skill set somehow, but you hadn't just, as you said, that was not the direction you thought your career was headed at that time. So it's sort of a big step out, isn't it?
Yeah, it was huge. It was a huge step out. Um, you know, and and small indie label, their budgets are small, so you can't necessarily steal a senior vice president of publicity at a major label. You can't. Um, um, it's I never thought about being a publicity head at a record label. I mean, yeah, it looked glamorous on TV, but I never thought about doing it. It just wasn't anything that was in my plan. But when I was presented with the opportunity, I was like, wow, this is going to be a huge challenge. But it's almost like it's like an internship, learning on the job, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like an apprenticeship. I will never have an opportunity like this again. And going to work for Scott, who is one of the hardest working, most brilliant people I know in the business. I mean, it was a masterclass, and it was also sink or swim. And I learned so much. I was also working 8 a.m. to sometimes 3 a.m. many, many nights. We all were, because that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Especially when, you know, the artists are all new, the label's new, you're building your profile. We're all learning together, or many of us are learning together. There were several seasoned folks that were on staff. But yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible experience. And I learned by, you learn from your mistakes. You find other people around you. You find a community of people that you gel with, and you learn from them. One thing about the music community in Nashville is everybody lifts each other up. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but it really is a family. There's a lot of support in helping someone who's new learn the ropes, make connections. And also when someone falls, that community lifts the person who's fallen up and helps them find work. It's really an extraordinary place.
Oh,
Uh,
that sounds great.
be.
And you mentioned all that hard work, but I'm sure you saw that as not only an investment in what you were doing, the job,
Mhm.
but an investment
Yeah,
in yourself. That
yeah, I did.
this is the direction now I'm energized to go.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I mean, I recognized from the beginning that this was going to be really rough and really tough at first, but I would never have, I don't know that I would ever have an opportunity like that again to just jump in, you know, head first and like I said, sink or swim and um, be kind of handed that opportunity and that possibility. And yeah, I mean, I did see it as an investment. I think that Um, I mean, it really afforded me the ability to make a living for the rest of my life in this field, if I'm being honest. Just because of the contacts that I've made. And they always say, a publicist is only as good as their Rolodex. It's all about relationships.
Yeah,
It's
sure
not,
it is.
it's all about it a lot. It's all about relationships. It's all about the art of the pitch, but it's about, it's about being a good partner and maintaining those relationships and again lifting each other up and it's also about the music's got to be great too, so
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the music and some of the artists that what are some of your favorite memories and people that you've met and things that you can share?
okay, let's see here. Oh, some of my favorite people. Reba McEntire, actually. I absolutely adore Reba.
Oh, that's great to hear.
I worked for her for several, well, I didn't work for, I was her label publicist, but her only publicist for several years. Got to travel with her, got to spend a lot of time with her. She is one of the sweetest, kindest, funniest people that you will ever hope to meet. She puts everyone instantly at ease. Just such a pro. Um, I mean, everything from how she conducts herself in interviews to how she walks on a red carpet and does the step and repeat. Like that is such an art form
Hmm.
that most people don't realize. And I would always say to my younger artists, watch Reba, watch how Reba does it. Cause it is, learn from the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's just a wonderful woman, incredible talent. I think so highly of her. Um, going back to memories, I remember we were always so hard at work. We would have our heads down, just working hard. And you just always think about what's next, and you very rarely take time to enjoy what's actually happening because, you know, the business is always about what's next and you have to keep the momentum going. But I remember one day in particular, it was the first time I think that Taylor Swift had gone to Europe. And she was visiting, radio stations, media opportunities. Um, and someone said, I guess she must, I don't know if she was live or if it was a recorded piece on Italian television. And someone said, come in my office, look at the mob scene outside the radio station. I forget if it was Rome, if it was Milan, I can't remember, in Italy. And there was this footage of Taylor getting out of her car, tons of paparazzi, tons of screaming, crying fans. I mean, just a mob scene. And she's going into the radio station building. And that was the moment I think that a lot of us realized just how big she had become
Hmm.
because because we were so busy, we were just
Yeah.
isolated. We were kind of isolated from it, because you're just your head's down and you're thinking about the next thing. And that was just this kind of aha moment of like, wow,
Hmm.
wow. Um,
Good
but
story. I was going to ask you, Natalie, are you able to enjoy and take a little bit of personal pride, if you may, that in somebody that you're helping along the way, an artist
mhm.
with their success, if they have success with an album or they get an award, do you get to Do you get to enjoy that a little bit?
I try to now. Um, I think I've been guilty earlier in my career, um, that I didn't maybe allow myself to enjoy it because, again, I'm always thinking about what's next. And it takes a village. I mean, it takes so many people behind behind a project to make it a success. Um, and it's hard work. And I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to take more time now just to kind of sit back and look and revel and instead of going, okay, next, you know,
Mhm.
check, next.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of moments along the way where, we've had great celebrations. I mean, I keep going back to Big Machine, but that's because it was the first record label I ever worked at. I've had incredible moments at BBR Music Group and BMG, and also at Quartz Hill and Stone Country. And um I think back to Jack Ingram, who also such a doll, incredible songwriter, incredible performer. They always say that Nashville's a 10-year town. They say it takes you come here, you have to work the scene, you have to meet people, you co-write, you network, you collaborate, you get your deal, get dropped, get another deal, get dropped, get
Yeah.
your third deal, 5 radio singles in, you finally something's working. They call it a 10-year town. But Jack was from Texas, and he got his record deal at Big Machine in like 2006, 2007-ish. I'm not quite sure. But for Jack, it was longer than that. But the moment that he won the Academy of Country Music Awards, Best New Artist of the Year, was probably about 15 years in, maybe.
Mm.
So hardly a new artist.
Yeah.
Um, but man, it was one of the sweetest moments
Yeah.
of my career. And he'd worked so hard for it for so long. And it just, when something like that happens, and you've all put years and years and years into this, and you know how much it means sincerely to the artist. I remember him coming backstage, and after he accepted the award, and the whole team, we all ran back and met him as he walked off, and we all just got in this big circle and put our arms around each other's shoulders and just like started crying. Like
Yes.
everybody was just like, oh my God. And that was a really beautiful moment that still sticks out to me. um yeah.
Well, as you mentioned, I think as you were learning along the way, your job is never done. You've always got another task to do. I think you mentioned your to-do list is never completed, and you're
If there
always
is,
pushing
there's a
that.
problem.
You're always
But if
pushing that
there's a
rock
problem.
uphill, which
Yeah.
I certainly can understand. But I'm sure that COVID and what happened during the pandemic impacted the industry in some ways.
It did. I mean, it was really hard because, these days the majority of the revenue is coming from touring and merch sales and experiences. Um, with Physical product is no longer king. I remember those glory days. Where an artist would come out of the gate, and they would sell hundreds of thousands of units the first week. Sometimes they would sell 1 million units the first week of their new album. I remember 9 o'clock at night at the record label mailing out advances to media, physical advances, and having to put these packages together. We used to mail out, gosh, like 1,500 to 2,000 mailers. Can you imagine how long that took? That's the stuff that you see in movies,
Yeah.
like if you watch HBO's Vinyl, that series from a few years ago, from it's a rock label in New York in the 80s, I think. And that's what you witness, and that's what we used to do. But consumption has changed with the DSPs, the digital service providers, which are Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Tidal, whatever you choose. That's how music is mostly consumed now. And it has changed the game in a big way. Rates that songwriters and artists and labels are paid it's not the same money. that we all used to exist on. And that's why, the touring and the merch matters. So yeah, it was tough. It was tough. I actually I was doing some freelance PR during the pandemic. I was not at a label, and I worked with a really talented artist that released her first, it was her solo debut album. And Rachel Reiner, Into the Into the Blue. Fear that I may be messing up that title. An amazing record. We had a great setup for her. And literally, the record came out the Friday of the week that everything was shut down. All of
Mm.
her fan parties, all of her album listening events, all the shows she was playing, everything got canceled in one fell swoop.
Wow.
And without that, it is so hard to, without that personal connection with the fans and those flagship events for both media and fans, it was so hard to promote the record. Because you have to, they say shake a hand, make a fan, right?
Yeah.
And all of that was ripped away. And so everybody had to pivot, and we had to figure out how can we be more connected with fans. And, obviously social media was already huge, but became an even bigger device. Creative fan listening parties, supplemental income, like Patreon and Cameo, and just different things of that nature where fans could have experiences or some sort of personal connection with an artist, even though it may be a paid thing. It allowed artists to make supplemental income, for fans to feel more connected. Obviously, so many Facebook Lives, so many Instagram Lives and takeovers, the YouTube live streams, special concerts. You saw the rise of outlets like volume.com, which is a paid subscription live show platform. You saw the rise of those types of platforms.
So,
The industry is ever evolving, and COVID kind of sped things up a little bit, I think.
yeah. And it makes me think that, do artists, do they think they need to be their own publicist now in terms of, I can have my own YouTube channel, I can do my own publicity. How's that impacting you and what you guys do?
Um, I think that every artist does need to be their own spokesperson.
Hmm.
You are your brand, and it's not 1983. It's not enough to just, unfortunately, it's not enough to just be talented and to be able to write, to be able to perform and connect with an audience live, and record great music and then go out on tour. It's very important that you have a strong social media presence, and that your social media presence, that brand, matches your music, matches your publicity photos, matches, everything. It has to be cohesive. And, an artist has to invest in their own social media. You can have someone doing it for you, and you can have someone that you kind of train to speak, type in your manner, speak in your manner, but it's just not. What I see working is when an artist can take hold of their own social media with the assistance, obviously, of their record label, of their management company, or a digital media company that they hire. Content is so important. I mean, we have full filming days, with artists once or twice a month to produce content to support the music, but also to some more, support their brand, their lifestyle. You know, that's kind of where, like, as a record label, we come in. And then, aside from those things, the promotional, you can't just be promotional all the time. You also have to give fans a glimpse into your life.
Yeah.
because that's now what they expect for better, for better or for worse, right?
Yeah.
We all want to see behind the scenes. We want to see what you're doing before in the green room before you step outside on stage. We want to see, are you a dog lover? Do you have, do you have rescue cats? Do you live on a farm? Everybody wants to, I think as a society expect that now of our heroes, whether they're musical or, actors and actresses, or they're, Nobel Peace winning Peace Prize winning scientist. We just live in this world now where we all expect a little more. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, I keep thinking back to you as an 8-year-old buying that record player and buying your first 45s, which is kind of what I did, the same thing. But how does an 8-year-old little boy, little girl, get into the love of music and
Hmm.
follow the same type of path that you might have, done, X number of years ago?
How did I
No, how do
do
how
it, or
do how do they
how would
find
I say?
yeah, like your path?
Um, well, I mean, again, I think that if you're interested in the music industry, if you're interested in working in entertainment, again, go out to live events, go out into your community, seek out. I mean, I always say that a radio station, like your local radio station, or or 45 minutes away, you're the biggest metropolitan city in that radio station. I think that that is almost mandatory if you want to work in the music industry to
Hmm.
at least intern at a radio station. And the reason I say that is because it exposes you to live events, it exposes you to playlisting, how playlists are put together. It exposes you to sales and sponsorships. It exposes you to live events. It exposes you to record label reps. It exposes you to so many different areas that make up the music industry and make the world go around. um, I just think of radios, and also just kind of understanding, especially in country music, radio is still a huge part of country music, whereas it may not be in other genres. But radio still they still make hits, they still make stars. And understanding that dynamic and what it takes, and kind of the like strategy behind it, you get a really good baseline of that, by starting off at a radio station. So I highly, if you want to do what I do, I think it's important that you work at a radio station at some point. Um, and then, you know, I mean, we had internet. I'm dating myself again. We had internet. I mean, this was back in the days of like chat rooms, right? So, like, we had the computer labs at Austin P. I didn't have a laptop the first few years. So like everybody's vying for time, and it wasn't the plethora of information that is out there now, where you can find internships or part-time jobs. um it just didn't exist when I was, but the other thing that I would say too is volunteer. If you're interested in film, go to the Nashville Film Festival, or go to the belcourt.org, and see what volunteer opportunities there
Yeah.
might be to, work a one-off event, or to, help put together the next Nashville Film Festival in 2025. If you're interested in music, look at NSAI, or look at the Grammys. The Grammys have a great program called Grammy U, that involves college students. You can look that up, become a member, take part in their events. CMA, the Country Music Association, has a CMA EDU where they do the same thing. And I've gone over to the CMA and done focus groups when I've had new music with a new artist, and they've helped us gather 20 to 30 college students. We play them music, they give us their opinion,
Hmm.
and it's amazing feedback. But seek out the Country Music Association, seek out the Grammys, seek out the Academy of Country Music Association, and see what volunteer and or student programs there may be for you, that you can be a part of.
Well, I think that's great advice for our students to consider, and certainly you have shown them a path forward, in your particular career. I'm just excited about you still got plenty of time left in your career, Natalie, and I'm looking forward to what's next for you because
Well, thank you.
you have not you have shown that you are not afraid of taking on new challenges.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the best advice I can give is just call for 2.5 weeks straight and leave a voicemail every single day. If you
Be,
really want it,
that's
just do
right.
it. Just keep going, and eventually they'll get tired of hearing your voice, and they will relent.
Well, it's been so great, and thank you for sharing your story
Oh,
on
thank you.
today's podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks to our listeners and viewers out there for checking out the podcast. We hope you will continue to do so as we profile some of the outstanding alumni we have here in the College of Arts and Letters at Austin Peay State University. So until next time, stay safe, take care, and God bless.